Hi, I'm Jeff Collin from Hyland Investments. I founded this company back in 2003. Myself and my wife went through this process I'm about to share and just touch on very lightly with you today in this 5-minute video. And we experienced, as a client, what we now share with our clients. Years ago, I was in the photographic industry, and we got introduced to this concept through a mutual acquaintance, a mutual friend, and we went through the process. We were very excited about it, but the actual workings of it really didn't come together to the greatest expectations. Clearly, the salesperson oversold it. They overpromised and underdelivered. But the strategy still worked, and that's what's so exciting about this opportunity. The fact that what we did and what I'm about to share with you worked out it was executed quite poorly, but we actually still made money, quite a significant amount of money. So back in 2003, I founded the company and we actually got started. We have devised a 5-step process which is cost and obligation free. Most financial planners charge $500 an hour. We've always seen that as a bit of a financial barrier for most people to overcome. So what we do is we offer 5 steps, cost and obligation free. You can go all the way through the 5-step process, and if you're not totally satisfied, you can say thanks but no thanks. So basically we deal with investors and even first home buyers, people that are just trying to get into the market. But we're not exclusively just leaning towards property. We offer a very holistic approach. I've got ASIC compliance to give general financial planning advice, RG 146, but we also contract fully licensed financial planners, financial strategists, mortgage brokers, accountants, property managers, insurance specialists, you name it. What we want to do is offer you a holistic approach to what we do. Now, we're not just leaning towards property, but I'm really excited about property because I believe that's the best option for most people. So we do a full range of those services, and through our 5-step process, you'll see how that comes together. But what I want to put up out front right from the start, there's 3 thieves to financial independence. The first thief is procrastination. Too many people just put it off. They know that they possibly could do something, but they just don't know where to start, who to trust, or how to begin. The second thief is well-intentioned friends and family. They may have your very best intentions at heart, but they don't know what they're talking about. You've always got to look at the fruit on the tree. If they have multiple property investments, multiple share portfolios, by all means, listen to them. But usually what you're going to find is the people that are giving the advice have done nothing. So don't listen to well-intentioned friends and family. And the third one is fear. Now, the acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real. Don't get caught up in fear by what you see on a current affair or Today, Tonight, any of those programs, because that's the primary reason we usually find most people don't proactively go out and do something about their financial independence. What I just want to share with you on the board here is a gap analysis. Usually most people have got enough superannuation to, at this point in time, the average Australian has got maybe 50, 60 or even $100,000 in their superannuation. And it'll go from where it is now, whatever that is, up to, say, this point here. And it will be inadequate to where they desire it to be. So there's a gap between where their desired retirement lifestyle needs should be to where it will effectively end up. So there's only really 4 ways you can close the gap, and that's through debt management, savings, tax savings and leverage. It's not one of these 4 things that are isolated, but it's all 4 put together. So we have got strategies on how to actually close that gap. The important thing to understand is, once again, don't procrastinate. You need to start now, because if your retirement age is going to be 65, and in all real terms, it's actually not going to be 65, it's going to go to 67 and then possibly even 70. If you start now and your goal is to hit X amount of dollars for retirement, you can actually start now, and it's a nice easy incline, like pushing a wheelbarrow up a hill. If this little stick man walking up there and pushing a wheelbarrow up the hill. As you actually wait and procrastinate, and wait longer and longer, the incline gets steeper and steeper, and it gets harder and harder to get to the point where it's actually almost impossible to get any traction. So I can't stress that enough. If you're looking at this video for the first time today, get on the phone, talk to us, call us, set up an obligation and cost-free appointment so we can assess your situation. You'd be amazed what you can do with such a little amount over a long period of time. You may think, I've got no savings, I've got no equity, I've got no superannuation, I've got not much income. You'd be amazed what we can actually do when you put a brainstorming crew of asset management professionals that do this every day of the week. The thing I want to talk about also today is the property clock. The property clock, if you don't realise, it's just like a normal clock where it operates in this direction, okay? And basically 12 o'clock is the top of the market, 6 o'clock is the bottom of the market, 9 o'clock is a rising market, and 3 o'clock is a falling market. Now, we primarily sell most of our properties in Queensland, Southeast Queensland, regional Queensland, and also New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia. On a macro scale, the property clock in Southeast Queensland is somewhere around about 6:30, okay? But you've got also micro property clocks. It actually changes from suburb to suburb, and it's quite often even street to street. So we're always assessing where the market is in that particular location or that particular region. And it's all driven by supply and demand, and I'll cover off in that in just a minute. So ideally what you want to do is most people get to the top of the property clock somewhere between 9 and 12 o'clock where it's booming, and then they jump onto the property cycle. And you know when the property cycle is going to top out and hit that 12 o'clock by two things. Firstly, the banks are lending, say, 105% of the purchase cost and deposit for property. And the second thing is your local taxi cab driver is giving you advice on what to buy and when. So what you want to do is avoid buying in that cycle. You also don't want to buy in this cycle because this is a declining or a falling market all the way through. So this is a bust down here, busted market. Okay? Where you want to buy in is somewhere between 5:30 to 9 o'clock, in that space there, because that is where you're going to get the most amount of capital growth. You buy in, you make money when you buy. Our catch cry at the moment is, if it's a buyer's market, why aren't you buying? And quite frankly, it's just purely through ignorance in 99% of cases. So buy into the market here. So from 5:30, 6 o'clock, 6:30, you're going to experience all this capital growth. Because what tends to happen with the property cycle, it basically is a 10-year time clock. So between year 0 and year 10, you're going to have around about 2 to 3 good years and around about 7 to 8 ordinary years. Okay? So what we want to do is obviously not have you jump on and have the joy years at the end of the property cycle clock. We want to get you up the front here as much as possible so you can actually have capital growth sooner, which will position you to actually buy another property sooner. So another graph I really just would love to share with you and have you understand, it's very important. This is the most exciting graph out of all of these. It's understanding supply and demand. So this is the supply and demand ratio. Since 2003 to now 2013, what's happened is our population is growing exponentially. But what's happening is actually, this graph should actually drop off. The build approvals are actually dropping off. So this gap is actually widening. That's really exciting, because the thing that drives capital growth, the thing that makes profit, is when there's a massive demand and a limited supply, because that's what pushes up prices as far as capital growth and also rental yields. So it's understanding that as well. Now, there's many strategies we can actually use with our clients, We tailor make what we actually do to each different client. It's not like one size fits all. We don't just, what works over here for this client doesn't necessarily mean the next person that we actually see is going to work for them. We have to do something totally different depending on their personal needs. What's their risk appetite? What's their incomes? How much tax do they pay? There's a whole range of things that we actually go through to actually find the facts. We can sell negatively geared property, neutrally geared property, or positively geared property. So all that means is you're either putting in some money yourself, you're putting in no money, or you're actually earning money. Once again, what is the most important thing that you actually want to achieve? And we determine that. So what we can actually do is just do a conventional house and land on maybe a 600 or 700 square metre block. I like big blocks, especially in the fact that, especially when you can do your split blocks. And we do that for some clients because that's what suits them. It suits their risk appetite. It suits what they're actually trying to achieve. You can do townhouses. You can do apartments. You can do brand new. You can do second hand. There's always a better option to go brand new because you get maximum tax depreciation. If you bought a property that looks relatively new, it's only, say, 3 years old, 4 years old, most people would consider that to be a really good property to get into. But if you bought that property as opposed to the one next door that's brand new, just completed, never been lived in, that second-hand property would probably cost you an extra $150 to $200 a week to own and hold because the majority of the tax depreciations happen in the first 5 years. Whereas you can depreciate a property over 40 years, but it's all the low pull items, which is, light switches, carpets, drapes, all those sorts of things, plumbing, one thing and another. So it's understanding how to actually structure that. Also, you can save a lot of stamp duty by constructing as opposed to buying complete. You can buy through your self-managed super fund. It's been very popular, people going that way. They've seen what's happened to their superannuation in the last, say, 4 or 5 years since the GFC, and they want to take more control. And instead of relieving it up to a fund manager, they're taking control and buying property. And of course, the leverage aspects. I don't know if you understand the terms that we're using, but we'll explain all this with you through our 5-step process. No question is a silly question. We help you get to that point. Understanding what leverage is, while you only putting in maybe 5 or 10% into an investment strategy, and then getting the bank to put in 90, 95%. And then you have the taxman, the tenant, and the yourself service the debt. And we have situations where the tenant and the taxman cover all the debt plus some, and you're going to get positive cash flow. So how do we determine that? We determine it through a whole range of different researches that we actually do. There's the 7 key infrastructure criteria, which are very important to meet. There's shopping centres have got to be close by, schools, public transport with buses, trains, that sort of thing. Good employment, strong employment in the area or the region. Road infrastructure, having that close by. Entertainment, and the last one is hospitals, medical centres, and those sorts of things. But that's not all that it's up to. You got to do the feasibilities, and you got to do the statistics for the supply and demand ratio, and that comes down to rentals versus owner-occupier. You don't want to go into an area where 60% of the people in that suburb are renting. You want to get a really strong owner-occupier presence because they're the ones that are actually painting and mowing and not leaving junk everywhere. So typically, ideally, we'd like to get in an area there's only maybe 15 or 20% renters in the area. Online search interest. We actually have got drivers that determine, we find out these statistics, how much interest is in the area. Because if there's a lot of interest, that's what's going to drive growth. How many days on market is a very good indicator. If it's a very short period of time on the market, that means there's a high potential for capital growth. And that's also governed by discount as well. Are the vendors discounting the properties to get rid of the properties? If there's from the originally asking price to the actual buyer agreed price. If they haven't been needing to drop their price too much, it means it's a very strong market. Stock on market in the area. How many properties are actually for sale in the market as opposed to the percentage of houses that are in the area? If that amount is lesser than greater, that means it's a strong market. A lot of people want to actually live there. Vacancy rates. We always want to try and get less than 2%. In a lot of cases, we get less than 1% because we go to an area where there's high rental yields. If we're getting better than 5% rental yields in southeast Queensland, or even we're getting up sometimes 7, 8, 9% rental yields in regional areas. Once again, depends on your risk appetite. You may not want to go there. You just want to buy the suburb next door to you. That's fine. It really depends on you. We will present to you a smorgasbord of options, but it comes back to you what gives you comfort that you can sleep on at night. I've got a fairly high risk appetite, and I know that I can buy an investment property in, let's say, a regional mining town. Once again, it's got all those 7 key infrastructure criteria. It's got the stats, the core fundamentals, feasibilities of the supply and demand ratio. But if you're not comfortable with that, it's not the right investment for you. And of course, the final thing of the 8 statistics is the auction clearance rates. That's a tremendous indicator how many properties actually go to auction and get passed in. So the higher that number of clearances, the better the market. There's huge demand in that area. So these are all the things that we can actually do for you. At Hyland Investments, it's all about the client. We will never, ever show you a property that we ourselves wouldn't want to buy ourselves. With our research, we get several hundred pieces of stock shown to us all the time. Every week, something new, something different. People, developers and builders and real estate agents asking us, have we got an interest for our client base? When we do all those statistics and all those checks, if we aren't satisfied ourselves that we ourselves would be prepared to pay buy that purchase with our own hard-earned money, if I'm not satisfied, you'll never see it. So come along to our 5-step process. Call us now. Go to our website, www.hylandinvestments, Hyland investments.com.au, or call us. You'll be glad that you did, and you'll be on the path to financial independence and get past those 3 thieves. I look forward to meeting you soon. My name's Jeff Collin, and I look forward to your success in retirement.